Imagine being able to rewatch your favorite TV show with your best friend, who has literally never seen an episode before. That's our premise, and what we hope will set us apart from the other Office podcasts you may have stumbled across. So welcome to Bears Beats Bobbleheads, Talkin' Office, the podcast where three brave souls discuss every episode of The Office, from pilot to finale, and we get a fresh reaction from someone who has just watched the episode for the very first time in their life only hours before. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. We are all the way to Season 2, Episode 9, Email Surveillance, first aired November 22nd, 2005, written by Jennifer Salata and directed by Paul Feig. All right, gentlemen, let's start the show like we start every show, by each of us giving our favorite moment from Email Surveillance. Thus far, I pointed out, I believe last episode, I do not think we have rested on the same favorite moment yet. Any of us have overlapped our favorite moment. I'm going to, if I were a betting man, I would bet that might change here, but let's find out. Joe, what was your favorite moment of Email Surveillance?
It's during Michael's improv with Bill, and they're doing the scene, and Bill slowly raises his arms after Michael whispers to him, and the teacher asks what, and he's like, he says he has a gun and he can't show it to me.
Yeah, my mind is just the whole improv thing. It's one of my favorite sequences. I think it's one of the best Michael moments. Like, if you're to make a best of Michael mix, I would put every single improv scene in it. So yeah, I mean, we kind of did then rest on the same one, and I am not surprised. Paul, what about you?
Same. It was the whole that was the best thing of the whole episode, was just the little improv parts. Absolutely. So when he has to give up the guns. Give me all your guns, Michael.
All right. Well, no surprise. That's certainly what the episode is known for, but a lot of other things happen, and we will dive into it right now. So starting off in the cold open, Michael and the new IT tech guy did not get off to a great start, Paul.
Oh, this was in the running for one of my favorite moments of the show, the cold open. Wow. Yeah. Michael thinks that they're finally coming for the paper. He makes them shut off the lights and everyone hide at their desk. They're not there. Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I mean, that's I mean, obviously the cringe level on that is high, but it's also borderline racist, if not outright racist.
Yeah, it shows how base level Michael can be. He just sees the guy, and he automatically thinks Al Qaeda is going to take out the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin, and
exactly,
which is Michael's world. So
yeah, so it's cringy. It's just as cringy now as when it first aired.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Dwight is suspicious about what Michael and the new IT tech guy are up to in Michael's office, Joe.
Yeah, and he keeps giving Michael like worst case scenarios, and this was in the running for my favorite moment is when Michael says, when one of them, he's like, if I step on a mine in Scranton, Pennsylvania and die, you can have my job, okay?
Michael is not going to tell his employees that he's going to be reading their emails, Paul.
So when I go into a job and there's email, I assume somebody's reading all the emails. You know what I mean? So the fact that they're not at this office is kind of like, how far behind are you guys? Like, is that a product of the times, or is that, because I mean, I've known people, even back in jobs we worked together where we had email, people were fired over their emails.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's weird when businesses give the bosses the ability to read emails. For all I know, my boss currently can, but I don't see why. I guess I'm not in sales, so it wouldn't really make any sense for that. But it just seems awkward. But Michael seems way too excited to finally be able to do a search and see how funny he is to his employees.
Well, when he hears the term big brother, he thinks, I love my big brother.
Which is the last line in the book.
Oh, my God.
Oscar asks Michael in front of the entire office why he's spying on their computers, Joe. Ooh, awkward.
Yeah, and he's got a valid point. Considering how thin-skinned Michael is, this is like one of those corporate powers maybe they shouldn't give to a guy like Michael. And he ends up just doing he ends up doing a robot imitation to like shut Oscar up.
Amalgamation of a robot and the Tin Man is what it came off as. Oil can. Oil can.
Forgot about that.
Kevin has to erase a lot of stuff, Paul. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I want you to give me your theory. What do you think Kevin's got to erase off of his hard drive?
Kevin seems like the kind of guy that probably has a lot of the forwards, and he's kind of gives off that dirty old man vibe. So I'm guessing a lot of porn.
Pam overhears Dwight encouraging Angela to erase any sensitive emails she may have, Joe. Pam's quest for this episode is to investigate, is there something going on between Dwight and Angela?
This is probably my second favorite part of the whole episode is Pam. She actually has something to do in this episode besides kind of be like Jim's counter, which I really, really, really enjoy.
Yeah. And she also, like I said, it's kind of her quest, and she even gets like the cameraman to kind of break protocol, for the documentary crew to assist her. So yeah, you're right. It is nice to see her kind of go off on her own adventure without Jim in tow. But moving on, per Dwight, there are a huge number of yeast infections in Lackawanna County, Paul.
It's probably caused because we're downstream from the bakery.
It's the old bread factory.
Oh, the old bread factory.
Does that mean it's still running even, or is it just like residue from when it ran in the past because it's old?
And going back to what Joe was saying, she comes up, hey, there's a brunette that works in the office, and then there's this blonde, and who's somewhat annoying and whatever. She just starts listing all these negative qualities. Who would you go after? And, what, do you have the access to their medical records? What the fuck? Oh my God. That's quite a turn from asking Toby what the clitoris is to knowing what a yeast infection is. Just saying. He's learned a lot in the last couple episodes.
But does he really know what a yeast infection is? Because he thinks it's caused by old bread.
It's caused by the old bread factory. Holy shit.
While snooping through emails, Michael learns that he is the only one not invited to Jim's barbecue happening that evening, Joe.
I kind of felt bad for Michael. Nobody likes being the one excluded from things, but we all know why. Besides him just being the boss, Michael's got to be the center of attention all the time. So Jim has good reasons for not wanting Michael, his boss, to be in his home.
Going back to Pam's quest, after witnessing Angela purchasing not one, but 2 Baby Ruths from the vending machine, the camera crew alerts her to Dwight eating a Baby Ruth at his desk, Paul. Ooh, the plot thickens.
The plot thickens. And the interaction between her and the cameraman, you can't even see it, but you know what's going on there. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, and that's kind of the first time that I can recall, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, where the cameraman has kind of broken that wall and directly interacted with one of the subjects. Am I wrong? Am I forgetting something, guys?
It's questionable when he's trying to get under the desk with Michael, when Michael is on the phone.
This is the first time I think one of the crew is interacting with the subjects. We haven't seen that too.
Yeah, where he's directly affecting something. I mean, they were just trying to get the shot on Michael. That wasn't so much. It wasn't changing the dynamic of what was happening. Where this is they're aiding in Pam's quest, as I call it. But moving on, Jim convinces Dwight that his barbecue is actually a surprise party for Michael in an effort to keep Dwight from telling Michael about it, Joe. Dwight, of course, believes this.
this is really making me feel even worse for Michael. Like the lengths that Jim's going to keep him out of the loop, to even like create like it's not even a prank. It's like a sub prank type of thing on Dwight just to shut him up about it.
I guess I didn't see it quite that nefarious. To me, it was more on his toes. I mean, they should have figured that Dwight was going to bring it up with Michael, so maybe he should have planned for that better, or maybe waited to invite Dwight until like they were leaving that day, I guess.
I'm confused why he invited Dwight anyway, besides the fact that his roommate doesn't believe Dwight's real.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's why. I mean, you've had a person in your life before that, even though you knew it may be a risk to have them there, you were like, you got to meet this dude. Words cannot do him or her justice.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I wouldn't invite him to a house party.
Fair enough. Michael, clearly fishing for an invitation from Jim, says he has improv class tonight, and he wouldn't miss it for the world, Paul. But if something else came up, he would definitely not go.
So at first, I thought he was lying. Like he had nothing going on because nothing's going on in Michael's life. You know, and that's why he's like, but I could skip it. I can come. And, you know, Jim's just like, nope. And again, I get where Jim's at. I completely agree with you guys. Like, yeah, I get why Jim doesn't want Michael there.
Okay, well, I think that's a good spot to leave off and take our first break, but we will be back to discuss what we've teased, improv class of Michael's. We will be right back here on Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. If you're enjoying our Office podcast, be sure to check out Cast That Movie, the podcast where Paul and I, using our superhero aliases, revisit failed cinematic projects from the past. We discuss what went wrong, and then we try to fix the mess by going back in time and recasting the project with a cast we feel would have elevated the material. We also assign a new director/visionary. Because you can never have too much of a good thing, we also conjure up a dream project of something we would like to see made into a film, and we cast that as well. So find Cast That Movie on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, or at our home at thejodown.blog. Welcome back to Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. We are on to Season 2, Episode 9, Email Surveillance. And we resume the action at Jim's party where everyone is socializing and mingling, except for Michael, of course. We meet Mark, Jim's roommate, who is immediately fascinated by Dwight and his Birkenstocks, Paul.
He keeps an extra pair. Oh, God. And you see the interaction between him and Jim, and Mark's just like, wow, he does exist.
His eyes just light up.
Light up. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
We also bring up the fact Dwight's introduction into the party is yelling at Jim about his Hyder-Rock key.
God. You must be Dwight. In improv class, no one wants to do a scene with Michael, and we quickly see why, Paul.
Okay. Let me just say, this is, in my opinion, the highlight of the whole episode, right? Mm-hmm. Because you can never top a gun. And I think this resonates really well with us because you and I have, wrote in comedy and been loosely involved with the improv crew. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just, it's so funny. Like, yep, you can't top a gun. And he's Mr. Kata, raising his hand. Oh, my God. Michael.
It's so great. And, my wife actually dabbled with improv. She taught a class briefly as well. So I know some of the improv rules. Now, it's not about winning. So when Michael says you can't top a gun, well, that's not the point. And it's all about yes and, right? Like those that are familiar with improv know that's like the rule number one is you go along with what your partner's doing, which Michael doesn't. They set up a scene and it's, in with a gun. And fun fact, this was based on an actual student in an improv class that Steve Carell attended. So I think he brought this into the episode, or at least brought it up to the writer. that this would be a great quirk, and it totally fits the Michael character, especially after us learning of his secret script and his agent Michael Scarn alter egos.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's hilarious that he actually knew someone like that.
Among the students in the class, we see Ken Jeong and Wyatt Cenac Joe before they broke out. It's kind of a neat little treat.
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes back that Ken Jeong plays Bill. He's part of my all-time favorite scene with Michael, with the slowly raising his arms as Michael has a hidden gun on him. And this is after another great scene, especially during this part, is the improv teacher asked Michael for all his guns, all his invisible guns.
And he gives them to him. And props to that improv teacher, the actor who played him. I thought did a really good job. He, the looks he gave to the camera and just the exasperation with having Michael in the class that you could clearly see painted all over his face, I thought added a lot to how effective the whole sequence of the improv stuff was.
Yes.
Okay. Pam gets lost on the tour and finds her way to Jim's bedroom, Paul.
Yeah, and they do the dating thing. He pretends that he's at his desk and she's right here, and then she looks and she goes for the yearbook. Classic shit. Yearbook. Mm-hmm.
So another scene that really resonated with me is this next one where Oscar and Stanley are talking about paper, and Kelly pleads for them to stop and talk about anything but paper, and then the three suddenly realize they have nothing else to talk about, Paul.
Boy, we've been in that situation, haven't we?
Yeah. You never socialize with people or rarely socialize with them outside of work. You have really only one thing in common, is that you work at the same place. And then you find yourself talking shop outside of work and realizing that's kind of lame, but then you don't have anything else to talk about.
We had that at many parties that you and I attended at certain companies, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. How about you, Joe? Have you ever been in a situation like that where you just don't really know what to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I think that's just, especially when you're with coworkers, you don't really know. Like, that's all you're going to discuss at least when you first converse outside, it's just going to be shop talk.
Pam tries to bring in Phyllis by asking her about any secret office romances that she may suspect, Joe. Then things go sideways on Pam's quest.
Yeah, because Phyllis thinks she's talking about her and Jim, and that really just kind of like it's an interesting scene because it just kind of like shatters Pam's now quest to like look into office relationships. Like, yeah, maybe she starts like, maybe I shouldn't be looking into that, and Phyllis seems sad or upset because that's what she obviously thought. I mean, when you're thinking of office romance. And she even brings up, like, you guys are always talking, and he's always at your desk.
Yeah, Paul, what was your take on that moment?
Yeah, it definitely hit her in the face, like, because this isn't the first time it's been discussed about her and Jim, right? And yet they just keep going back to doing what they're doing because, it's obvious they are into each other.
And they enjoy each other's company tremendously.
Correct. And, yeah, it was, it's... In a way, it was kind of funny because you kind of do. I mean, you guys, I think it's interesting that Jim and Pam are oblivious to what everyone else is seeing.
Yeah. Members of Michael's improv class are all going to Bernie's Tavern, a real place in Scranton, I might add. And it's clear they do not want Michael to join, Paul.
Yeah, they have a friend that they all know through different ways who has a birthday. Real quick, I want to jump back to the scene that Joe loved, which is the one where he puts his hand up. The part I loved about that the most, I thought, was the payoff there, was after to get the guns taken away and they're forcing Michael to finally do improv. He's like, I'm going through my wallet looking for the money, and you see Ken's face light up like, oh my God, we're going to have a real improv. And then the hands go up.
And then the disappointment.
The utter disappointment. Oh, I love that. So, yeah, but no, no one wants to be around Michael because Michael's grating. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Honestly, guys, would any of you at this point in the series, as far as I can tell, ever want to hang out with Michael?
I'd go to Chili's with him.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be a certain context. Maybe I don't know. We know Michael a lot better than you do. I'd say
Fair
up
enough.
to this point. Up to this point, I would probably agree with you. Yes, I would say that. Yes, he is very grating, and again, he sucks all the oxygen out of the room. He's just a lot, and he tries too hard, and that gets to be a difficult thing to be around in long chunks. But we are treated to some karaoke Dunder Mifflin style, Joe.
Phyllis singing "Here I Go Again."
Amazing.
Yeah, it's great, and I like the scene. We even see the IT guy is at the party too, which is
because Michael arrives at Jim's party. We should mention that first, and then the cringe reaches a whole nother level, Paul.
Oh boy. Yeah, and then Dwight, hey, surprise! And everyone's just like, oh shit. And God, what I had it written down, and I don't remember exactly what he said. When he sees the IT guy.
Yeah, like you brought up there, Joe. He sees him, and then he's like, "Oh, you invited that guy?" And then he like backtracks, saying, "Oh, good guy, not a terrorist." Just made it way worse.
Well, it's funny because before Michael shows up, I was like, "Holy!" Because I had not remembered. I saw the IT guy in the crowd, and I wrote my notes. It's like the IT guy, even the IT guy is there.
That would, I mean, that really does look even worse, from Michael's perspective, because the IT guy just got there that day, and Jim's already like, "Hey, I'm having a party tonight. You want to go?"
Right?
No one wants to duet with Michael, Joe.
Yeah, no. Well, he starts singing. How was I? Island in the Stream by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, and he's just singing it by himself.
Yeah, and just asking all the girls, and they all just are very dismissive. But finally, Jim, is looking on, and just the look he gives, like, I don't know if you want to call it, he just gives in, exhaustion, or he just really feels bad, like the weight of the deception of keeping this from Michael, and Michael still showing up. I don't know. I want to hear what you guys thought of that moment where Jim gets up there and sings with Michael.
So my thought on it is that, his conscious weight, like, here's Michael, he's in there, and it's just super awkward. He's not singing that well. He's doing a duet. He starts singing he's singing both parts. And I just think Jim's like, the only way that this is going to get better is if we just include him. And I think that it kind of clicked with him a little bit, like just how lonely Michael is.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I agree. On one level, he's saving the party because it's like Michael is just taking the wind out of it. Mm-hmm. And the other part is, like, I think once he gets up there and starts singing, he, like Paul said, he realized, like, Michael is that was not the best Michael moment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's a very depressing Michael moment.
Michael does kind of like, even he relaxes once Jim shows up, and he feels like, all right, somebody's in my corner here. I don't know. It's tough. We'll talk about it in the rundown, but how the emotions you feel towards Michael in this episode, there are a lot of them. Moving on, though, in the background, we see legs intertwined and bodies in the bushes. Dwight and Angela, it appears, are indeed a thing, Paul.
On one hand, I was like, what the fuck? On the other hand, I'm like, yeah, the two most annoying people in the office hooked up. Yeah, that's believable.
Finally, we get the first tag of the series. The tag, of course, being that little scene that you get right before the end credits after the last commercial break. This is the first one, and it becomes a thing. But up to now, we haven't had one, and it's, I think, a pretty good one because we get more improv. And we get Michael doing an improv about how he got into improv, Paul.
Okay, that threw me off. I was like, is this like a deleted scene or something? Like, I didn't know what this was. Because I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? It totally threw off the vibe of the show to me. Mm-hmm. Thank you for explaining what that was. That was pretty funny, except it was really bad improv.
Which was the point.
Yeah.
He's really bad at improv.
Oh, God, yeah. this guy in a race car comes up to me and, you're really funny. What? What the fuck?
And it's Dale Earnhardt?
It's Dale Earnhardt.
Okay, well, that, I think, does it for Season 2, Episode 9, Email Surveillance. Let us take our last break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to give our winner for the episode, our basic takeaway from the episode, and then we're going to check in with Paul to see if Jim is still his favorite character, and the fight is still his favorite episode. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Paul Muad'Dib, one half of Podcast Above a Convenience Store, Talkin Twin Peaks, which I work on with Joseph Fremming, who's also on the podcast that you're listening to right now. We go through all of Twin Peaks, Season 1, Season 2, the movie, the books. Right now we're digging into Season 3, which will end the podcast with the final dossier, which was the last book that was put out by Mark Frost, putting a cap on everything that's happened in the Twin Peaks universe. So please, check us out. You can find us on the joedown.blog with everything else on here. You can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify. There's no reason why you don't want to listen.
Welcome back to Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office, and we are finishing up here on Season 2, Episode 9, Email Surveillance. So let's do what we do here in the last segment and give our winner for the episode and our general takeaway. Joe, start us off, please.
Yeah, the winner for me is Pam. Like I said at the beginning, it gives her more to do. Her quest to find out if Dwight and Angela are an item is really, really fun. And the general takeaway too is also, I think this is the first episode where I kind of like feel sorry for Michael in a sense, especially with the exclusion part. So Season 2 is kind of really developing these characters really, really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I as much as I want to give it to Pam, I have to give it to Michael again, just because of the improv scenes. They make me laugh so hard, no matter how many times I watch them. But yeah, Pam is definitely a close second. This is one of my favorites, and for the reason why I believe it has some of the funniest moments of the series, but it also, like you said, kind of moves the ball on a lot of side characters. You get a lot more of their personality in this 20 minutes. It's just, for me, so much happens. It's just, and you get the Dwight and Angela thing begins, and Paul, as you said, that makes sense, and it really does make sense, and that adds that's a pretty important thread moving forward to the show. So just for it being such a strong pivot point, and just Michael, like I said, you feel so many emotions. You feel bad for him 1 second, you feel annoyed by him 1 second, and then you just don't know how to feel by the end, and that's a good thing. We're still figuring out that character, and he's definitely got room to grow. Paul, what about you? What was your winner and favorite moment, or excuse me, what was your winner and takeaway?
So this was a tough one. I'm going to have to go with Michael as the winner, because that's where the laughs came from in this one. Mm-hmm. Hearing I'll be honest, and the point where I'm at right now, because this is my first time seeing this episode. This one wasn't a highlight, but hearing what you're saying and kind of like this is a pivot episode, I could see why you would love it so much. Mm-hmm. The parts that are funny are really funny. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I was laughing so hard during the karaoke thing. But a lot of the other stuff just was kind of like, I got some of the side characters, got some of the things, but again, I don't know who these people are yet. Mm-hmm. So while it moved the ball, and I could tell it was moving the ball, I still don't know the dynamic and what these characters are about. So I think that's something that's lost on me. Sure. So that's kind of my takeaway of the episode.
All right, Paul. So I'm going to assume then that the fight is still your favorite episode, if this one was all in all a little underwhelming. But what about Jim as your favorite character? Does that still stand?
Yeah, I'm still going to say so, but I'm also, oddly enough, liking Dwight. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
All right, that'll do it for Season 2, Episode 9, Email Surveillance. We will be back next week, and we will be covering Season 2, Episode 10, Christmas Party. A classic for sure. Until then, that's Joe, that's Paul, I'm Scott, and this is Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. We'll talk to you next week. For more podcasts like this one and general pop culture tomfoolery, be sure to visit thejoedown.blog. That's thejoedown.blog.